We are live. I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. I'd like to welcome Andrew once again. Please introduce yourself to the viewers, Andrew.
Sure. So my name is Andrew Green, and I am here as a faithful servant, just loving the Lord and love to share the gospel, share my testimony. And the hope and prayer is that as we have these heart to heart discussions, someone out there will come to know Lord, come to know Jesus as their Lord and Savior.
Amen. Amen. And tonight's topic is narcissism and narcissistic abuse.
Mm,
This topic is near and dear to me. I have experienced this.
mm,
And it's a very difficult thing to overcome. And it is my hope tonight that during this conversation, that this will set someone free and help them to seek the necessary help that is needed to
mm.
deal with this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's jump right into it. What is narcissism?
Okay, so I think the way how you and I would sit down and sort of define it, as opposed to
Like a
a
therapist or a
psychotherapist,
counselor.
right? We would say it's it it's those individuals that have a inflated view of themselves. They need um, they need to be the center of everything, um, and they you know they use whatever skills and talents they have to sort of manipulate circumstances so that they are the center of their world,
Yes,
and they
in the
lack,
center of your world.
they lack empathy. That I think that is like the key,
That's the big one.
the big, yeah, right, the key component. Yeah, yeah.
What is narcissistic abuse?
Narcissistic abuse. Well, since you mentioned that you had firsthand uh, experience, do you mind sharing how you then realized that you're like in that position, and what that felt like for you?
The sad thing about it, Andrew, is a lot of people who are on the receiving end of
Mhm,
narcissistic abuse, they don't
mhm,
even realize what is
mhm,
taking place.
mhm,
You
mhm.
know, as time goes on, your
Right,
confidence has it's shot. You
right,
know, you
right,
start
right.
to question your sanity. You start to
Mhm.
question everything because
Right,
it's like your world is wrapped around this individual,
right, right,
So you take their word as gospel. So you
right,
start
right.
to lose a sense of who you are. Like
Mhm,
I said,
mhm.
you question everything about yourself.
Right, right.
Self-esteem is absolutely eroded. It's gone.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
non-existent. You
Right,
know, you look
right.
in the mirror and you just see an ugly person in front of you. You
Mhm,
see
mhm,
no good in yourself. But the sad thing about it is it's a gradual thing because it's
mhm,
not
mhm.
like that in the beginning.
Right,
And
exactly.
most
Right.
people who are on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse,
Mhm,
they end up screwed up pretty much. They really end up, they need therapy, they
mhm,
need counseling. But
mhm,
unfortunately,
mhm.
many people who have been on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse, they jump into another narcissistic abusive situation
Right,
from
right.
one to the other.
It does seem as though the narcissistic person has a way of sensing and finding
Yes, they
that
do.
victim, and it also seems um, not to blame the victim, but it seems as though the that would be victim has a certain character
You hit it on the head.
characteristic about
Yes.
themselves that that lens that makes them be attractive to that type of person.
Yes.
You know, so it's not. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right?
No, I
So
know, I
yeah,
know, I
yeah,
know exactly what you're
yeah.
saying. It's like, they tend to go for empaths. They tend
Mm-hmm,
to go for the easygoing
mm-hmm,
people who are like, I won't, let me just say it, sometimes desperation, you know,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it's to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
there are women that I've seen, and I'm sure it happens to men too, who are
Mental, yeah,
confident in themselves.
yeah, yeah.
They have it going on. They
Mm-hmm,
meet this individual, and I hate to say it,
mm-hmm,
I had Maxine on a few weeks back,
mm-hmm,
and she did mention about like not dehumanizing a narcissistic individual, which I get it. Because
mm-hmm,
to me, I used to say to myself, they're demons walking the face of the earth. But
mm-hmm.
we're all God's children at the
Right.
end of the day.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think we
Mm-hmm.
need to be careful, we need to be mindful, and
Right.
we need to have love for ourselves. Because
Right.
in the midst of this situation, you're so caught up on wanting to be loved by this individual. You're
Mm-hmm.
so caught up in wanting to be validated by this
Right.
person.
Right.
You lose the sense of you lose sense of self.
Right. Correct.
You lose
Correct.
sense of self. So
Yeah.
I will go into my next question. Why is narcissistic abuse so damaging?
Oh yeah. Because like you said, it's they that person um, you know creates this atmosphere, and they slowly, meticulously sucks you into their world, and and you know, like you say, um, they you feel great, uh, you know, in and
In the
around them,
beginning, yes.
and in the beginning, and then there is this slow, insidious devaluing of that other person, and you don't even see it, and they go back and forth with this tug and this pull. They play the victim, and they you get so it becomes like a drug. So uh, they keep pulling you back in. They would apologize for doing something bad, and then you sort of go back, and you try to forgive them. You try to understand where they're coming from, and before you know it, you're back in that cycle again, where they have you coming up and they have you going down. Your whole life becomes this toxic chaos that uh, you're not even you're no longer even taking care of yourself, because
Exactly.
you're just so afraid of letting down that person, because you know it's going to come. They're going to come. They may belittle you. It may be physical abuse, psychological. So you're tiptoeing around that person. So your
Walking on
entire life.
eggshells.
Huh?
I said walking on eggshells.
Exactly, exactly. So I mean, uh, it just your whole life just becomes um, imbalance, really.
Andrew, you have described it perfectly. Anxiety and depression can
Yeah,
become a part of this cycle.
yeah,
Post-traumatic stress, a
right,
loss
right.
of sense of self and self-worth.
Mm-hmm,
Mood
mm-hmm,
swings. You're going
mm-hmm.
through a depersonalization.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and it happens. It's a subtle thing.
It is
You
subtle.
don't even realize that
You
it's
just
happening
don't
until
recognize.
it's
Yeah,
happened.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Until it has happened. So
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to go through. And
Right.
something that I would like to compare it to is, you know, they talk about the drug addict and they're
Right.
chasing that very first high that they
Ex-
had, right?
exactly.
And
Right.
it's the
It's the
same
same.
thing. You're
It is
trying to
the same.
get back to that sweet spot with that person, the
Right.
lovey-dovey stage, the love
Right.
bombing stage, which we'll address that
Right.
shortly. But you're
And
trying to get back to that
right.
stage.
And the thing is that they are in charge and they know. So
Yes.
every time they get a sense of you sort of like regaining some normalcy and some control, and they sort of move that that
Yes.
goalpost. So now you have to try even harder to get back into good graces with them. And and then they sort of let you in and you sort of feel good and comfortable and you lower your guard for a bit and then
Yes.
the
You're
next
back
day
in the
or
spider's web, right?
right,
And
yeah,
yes. No,
yeah,
you're right. Now we're about to address like what are some of the tactics used by narcissists. Now I
hmm
can mention that to me, one of their favorite tactics is triangulation. They
right,
like to bring in that third person.
hmm
You start to think, oh my gosh, there's competition. He
hmm
likes this other person, or it could even be a parent, because parents can be narcissists too. They have
hmm
the favorite child, the
right,
two
right.
kids were there fighting for the attention of the parent. So I'd like you to address some of the different tactics used by a narcissist.
Yeah, they based on based on the reader, right? And I would just trying to think through the various friend groups that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's or even myself because you know I to be honest, we all have some degree of narcissistic tendencies among all of us, right? Because it's just part of our human nature due to sin. Because at the root of narcissism is about self-preservation. It's about uh, making meeting your needs, ensuring that you are good. So it's all about selfishness. It's all about greed, and we're all
Where we may all have some of the tendencies,
depend
but at
right,
the end of the day, are you let me put it like this: if you're a narcissist, you're a narcissist.
right,
If you have the tendencies,
mhm,
but you're not acting upon them. You're not out
right,
there hurting people, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to take care of number one. I think that's normal.
right,
But it's like when you cross that line, when
mhm,
you're
mhm,
hurting people, when you're abusing people, when you're
mhm,
destroying people.
right,
So, you know, I would say, you know, breadcrumbing. That's another
mhm,
tactic that they use. It's
right,
like you think of the love bombing, you know,
mhm,
and love bombing, it's such a feeling of euphoria when you're going through that
right,
period.
yeah,
But before we go into that, I'd like you to
mhm,
talk about the different types of narcissism, because I want people to know, what to look for, because it's like I said, it's such a subtle thing. Half of the time
mhm.
you don't even realize what's happening to you until you're in the mix and you're questioning your sanity.
Well, I'm not. I mean, do do you have like a list? I was going through a lot of material, and it didn't seem as though all of the professionals had like a concrete list of
Right. No, there you'll find different lists, but we can go
exactly
through some examples, like
right, right,
the overt narcissist, is
right,
arrogant with a
mhm,
grandiose sense of self-importance. Now,
right,
that's the kind of individual that I have met over and over and over and over in my life.
mhm,
Then
right,
there's the covert, who is defensive, fragile,
Mhm.
and sensitive to criticism. Then
Right.
there's the antagonistic, who
Mhm.
belittles and exploits others for personal gain.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
there's a communal,
Mhm.
inflated self view and attached to perceived likability. I would say that narcissists tend to be the best actors out there. You know,
Right.
the person that you have met is not the real individual. The
Mhm.
person that you may fall in love with, that
Mhm.
person does not exist. I mean,
Right.
what's your opinion on that?
Right. So they so a narcissist is going to go in and out of all of those categories that you mentioned, you know, and they are just doing it um, out of getting attention from the friend group that they have. They would be the leader of that pack. So you'll have a group of guys, and he would be that ringleader, or a group of girls. The bad girls, and she is the one calling the shots, because then they sort of set the tone, and then the people that they have around them do all of their biddings for them, right? So that's why I'm saying that this trait is very common,
It is.
from high school and whatever. But what really makes it dangerous, as opposed to you and I, who would recognize it in ourselves, and would be able to manage, and would be able to recognize that, wow, that's what I'm doing is hurtful. The problem is that with someone that will be clinically diagnosed, they don't do that introspective
No.
work. They're not looking uh, to themselves at the end of the day and say, "Wow, that was bad. I think I need to change my attitude." No, they're not doing that. They don't have that. They're just motoring ahead, and they're going to find another victim, um, so that they can feel good about themselves, no matter how bad you feel about yourself.
Yes.
So to me, it's less about the different types of narcissism, and more about being aware,
Yes.
if you're caught in that friend group, because it could start sexual, right? They charm you, and it's they're giving you the best that
The
you
best of themselves
the
for a
best of
short period of
themselves,
time.
and you're thinking that this is good, but they're just giving it to you, and then they're going to
Pulling
start
you in,
withholding
pulling
it.
you into their web.
Exactly. And then they start to withhold it more and more, and start to do a more transactional thing, where if you want this, then you have to do X, Y, and Z for me, and then you just become, you know, this dangling carrot in front of you. So uh, you just have to be mindful of when someone new comes into your life.
Very careful.
Don't be so don't fall head over heels. Don't just bring in someone new into your life, and they just become so intimate. You have to exercise a certain amount of discernment to ensure that how they presented themselves last week is how they're themselves today.
And
And on Yeah, go ahead.
and that's what, narcissists are everywhere. Don't think because
Yeah,
you met this person in
yeah,
church that he
yeah,
can't be a narcissist.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Narcissists are everywhere. So,
Could
Andrew, I'd
could
like
be a
us to
teacher.
talk. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and so and like I said, a family member. So
Family
now
member. Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about love bombing. I'm
Right.
thinking back to the days of, you'd see the little cartoon with the snake charmer, and he's
Right, right,
playing the
right,
little thing, and the snake goes up, and then the
right,
snake goes down, and then the
right.
snake goes up, and the snake goes down. That makes me
Hypnotize you.
think of a narcissist, because the narcissist,
Mhm.
it's like a mind game. It's
Right.
like they take you on highs, they take you on lows. The
Hmm.
highs are high and the
Hmm.
lows are low. They're
Right.
very charming, very
Hmm.
seductive.
Hmm. Hmm.
You meet
Hmm.
that person. Oh, you're the most beautiful woman
Right.
I've ever met. You're
Right.
so intelligent. And
Right.
oh my gosh, I've never met anyone like you
Hmm.
before. And you
Yeah.
just get sucked into that. You could
Right.
be the ugliest person in the world. They can
Mhm.
have you feeling like a beauty queen.
Right. Right.
They have the gift of gab. They know
Right.
the right thing to say, and it's very intense.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in the beginning, you're lying down at night like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
can't believe I've been so lucky. Like I've
You
heard
hit
women say, oh,
you hit
God
the
bless
jackpot.
me with a good man. God
Right.
bless me with a good, and it's like we're
Right.
lying on God. We need to stop doing that. But that love bombing stage is very seductive.
Yeah.
It's intoxicating.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a high. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
it's like such a wonderful feeling, and it's like, I can't believe that this has happened to me. Let's
Right.
talk about love bombing, Andrew.
Yeah. 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 And like I say, this goes both ways. For men
Yes,
and women.
men and women.
You know,
Yes,
they have a way of smelling and sensing that this person is vulnerable, this person
yes,
is needy, and they just see it on you. It's written all over your face. It's in the way how you stand up, how you sit, and just your smile. They're like, okay, I found a sucker, and
yes,
then you just lay it on, and before you know it, um, they could be fleecing you out of your bank account because they are going to promise you the world. They may promise to take you on a vacation. They may even show you the tickets and whatever. But what's happening is they're setting you up, and they're never going to fulfill whatever they promise. It's
yes.
always just going to be just in fingertips, you reach, you almost reach it, and then they
Yeah.
just snatch
And
it away.
that's like the carrot in front of the donkey,
Right.
right? It's like
Exactly.
they have mastered the art of seduction. And it's
Exactly.
like you're so swept up in that high, in
Right.
that intoxicating feeling, you can't
Hmm.
see that you're actually being played. It's like when you
Right.
watch a lot of these documentaries about the love scams that are taking
Hmm.
place,
Hmm.
where these people
Exactly.
have like these scammers have cleaned out the bank accounts,
Right.
they
Yeah.
know the words to say. Like you said, the vulnerable people. I've
Yeah.
seen documentaries with older women thinking there was a 20-something-year-old man that was in love
Hmm.
with it. It's like, come on, let's be realistic.
Right.
But it's like you are so caught up in the seduction. You are
Right.
so caught up in that wonderful feeling. And
Hmm.
feelings
Hmm.
can be deceptive. I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, um, the thing is that they need you more than you need them. So they are doing this um, just to elicit that reaction, that type of response from you, where you're showing neediness of them, because that's what they want. They want to feel needed. They want to feel important. They want to feel
Yes.
valued and validated. Um, they think that they're this thing, and they need you to reinforce that that false sense of superiority that they have in their heads. So it's two ways. So the fact that they keep luring you on and on and on is so that you keep trying harder and harder, which then makes them feel more empowered and more
And
powerful.
creates more anxiety in you and
Right.
more depression, because it's like, I'm so close. I'm so close. Why is it that I
Yeah.
can't achieve my goal with this individual? But it's like the
Mhm.
carrot. Here you go, here
Right.
you go, here you go, here. And then it's like, here, have a bite of the carrot.
Yeah.
And,
So you,
and
so
throw it
now,
away.
right. So when they make you feel like a failure, you internalize that and say, I have to try harder to make him feel good or her feel good. So you get back into that cycle of trying to please them the way how they they want to be pleased. And you just never can get back to that point. And
Never.
it
And it's
you
creating
yeah,
anxiety. It's
yeah.
creating anxiety in the individual and
Mhm.
depression, right? It's
Right,
like they're feeling like I'm not measuring up. I'm
right,
not good
exactly.
enough. And it just really tears a person down.
Right, yeah, exactly, exactly, yeah.
So my
That's the
next
game.
question, excuse me, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that at the end of the day, that's the game
Yeah,
that
it's a
they're playing.
game.
Yeah,
It's a sick game. It's a
yeah.
game just the same. So let me ask you this, Andrew. How important is it to be grounded in the word of God and having
Mhm.
a personal relationship with Christ?
Right. So so let's start with the victim, right? Um, you know, at the end of the day, um, what sin has done at the core is separate us from God. So we all have this void in us, So we're constantly looking to feel fulfilled. You'll hear people say, "Oh, this is my better half." That type of stuff. We're always looking for a relationship, with food, with alcohol, relationship with our careers, with how we look with someone else, love, so that we can feel fulfilled and validated, right? Um, so that is at the core of it. Um, what you want is to be able to turn recognize that no one can fulfill you. No one can provide the joy that your soul needs except for God. And
And that's
once you find your identity in Christ, then it becomes less likely. I'm not saying it's 100% proof, but it becomes less likely
you
for you
stand a
to
better chance.
exactly. And yeah, and again, it's that as your relationship, as your Christian journey continues, your faith and how you see yourself in Christ grows and strengthens. So now you're no longer needy for that external validation because you recognize that you are a child of God, right? And if the person uh, isn't treating me the way God treats me, how the Word of God, lays it out, then you can say, oh no, this is not of God, right? Um, and as for the narcissist, uh, you know, uh, there are Christian, there are narcissists that are in church, you know,
Yes.
but so it that becomes a bit more difficult because that person, especially if there's someone that has been clinically diagnosed, um,
Yes.
they would need real hand holding, real professional help, real psychotherapy to to be able to recognize that they are not the center of the world and that the thing that they're looking for, that validation that they're looking for, again, they have to look to Christ. Um, and that's going to be a bit difficult because they're going to have to learn how to be empathetic, how to care for someone. But but the word of God is powerful, right? So yes, it may be difficult, but it's not impossible because
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. So what if this narcissistic individual is a ministry leader? You know,
And
what if this
we see
narcissistic
a lot of that.
individual,
Yeah,
it's think
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Your you leave home, you may
Hmm.
have a narcissistic spouse, and
Hmm.
then you go to church,
And
you're
you,
dealing with another
the
narcissist.
pastor, the leader, yeah, is, yeah.
Go to
Uh,
work, you may be dealing with a narcissistic boss. So at the
yeah,
end
yeah.
of the day, I mean, think about, especially in church. I
In,
think if there's a
in,
narcissistic person that's like a ministry leader, I think it
mhm.
has to be addressed, because
Yeah,
I think it can turn people away. I think it can be a discouragement to people in their walk. I mean, what's your
yeah. It's
take on that?
very, yeah. It is disruptive, but the challenge, Brie, is that individual um, has created um, as a certain clout,
Yes.
right? They have friends in high places. That's
Clicks, the clicks.
that's what
They
they
have
are.
clicks.
They
They're
are
part of clicks.
right, right. So nobody challenges them because they always come off as being pomp and pious and righteous. They
Yes.
know scripture. They know
Yes.
every ministry. They're on the choir, the church board. They know how to insert themselves and make themselves important to the point
Yes.
where no one is going to question them, but you, the victim, who is trying to tell the truth, no, you're not thinking. You start to second guess yourself, like, did I really hear that? Like, was I dreaming? I'm sure that's what but so it just because they're a master of manipulating circumstances.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so so it's very and we see that a lot where in that past like that, you hear that all of a sudden they go off and they have a camp somewhere, off the grid, and
Yes.
they now start telling people that they are God, that they're
Dear God, I've seen one
wow.
where the man was like, he's the only one that can have sex with the women. It's like
Right,
you can no longer have sex with your wives. And it's like,
right,
have you
yeah,
gotten to the point? Because they are master mind
master,
controllers,
yeah,
right? They
yeah,
can
yeah,
they do a great job at brainwashing.
right,
I think
yeah,
it's important that we learn to think for ourselves, but not only that, when something doesn't feel right, have the guts to stand
yeah,
up to that.
and have a personal relationship with God for yourself.
Yes.
Yes, we go to church and there's a congregation. um, you know, your family, may go church as a family group, a unit, but at the end of the day, your salvation is an individual thing. You
Yes,
have
it
to
is.
report for yourself, and like you said, um, you can politely question things.
I agree.
um, don't don't go along just because you're afraid of upsetting, the apple cart. No, that's part of the game. They want you to feel intimidated about about putting any checks and balances on them. Um, ask the question. You know, um, you know, document stuff so that you have proof of what they said, as opposed to just having a telephone conversation. But if you can document stuff to then show and say, okay, this was what was said, and you have proof to substantiate whatever point you're making. But again, it's very difficult because they are a master of
Master
manipulation.
manipulators, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about insecurity,
Mm,
because I think insecurity plays a major role in narcissistic abuse. Those who are on the receiving end of it,
right.
that need to fit in, the
Then
need to be
right,
validated, the
right,
need to
right.
be loved.
Need to
I
be
want to
loved.
be in this clique. I want
Right,
to be with these high rollers. I want
right.
to be in the in crowd,
Yeah,
right? because
Yeah.
it's like if I'm hanging with these, like it's just like when they would talk about the nerds in school, like, oh, I don't
Hmm.
want to be
Hmm.
with the nerds, I want to hang out with the jocks, whatever.
Right.
You
Right.
know, that need, it's like going back to that high school mentality. So I'm
That's
asking you
it.
to
Yeah.
address that, Andrew.
That. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's literally going back to middle school days, high school. You have to have a strong sense of self. You have to have a strong, yeah, self-esteem about you, like awareness, um, because if you encounter that person, uh, you your entire life can be changed,
Yes.
and not changed for the good. It's going to change for the worse. Uh,
Yes.
so so I'm not. I mean, we just sound like a broken record, but uh, I'm not quite sure, Bree. I mean, you 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 have to be able to know who you are even before you go into different friend groups, because
Yes.
it is so easy to be swept up. Even you're at college, and you know you get swept up, and then all of a sudden you're not changing your major because you're not following someone else's comment. They're saying that this is what is supposed to be, and now you're changing your entire life to suit these other people, you know, what they value, and then at the end of the day, um, you're lost. You realize that you're like, what happened to me? You have no idea of what the chaos that just happened to you. You're just uh, been torn apart. You may lose your money, you may lose your house, um, you may lose your family, because they have a way of separating you and isolating you in a process, right? So I think um,
The need
being
to fit in, the need to fit in is powerful. I mean, you
yeah.
think about it, kids going off to college, as you mentioned, you know, it seems that drinking is a rite of passage in college in this country. You know,
Mm,
kids wanting to drink to fit in, you
mm,
know, becoming sexually promiscuous to fit in.
to
That
fit in.
desire to fit in
Yeah,
is dangerous. I don't care
yeah,
how well your parents raised you
yeah.
or what they did to instill their personal values in you. But I think if you are insecure, if you
Right.
have that need to fit in, it's a dangerous thing.
It is. It is. It is. You're literally opening up yourself to unnecessary danger, unnecessary pain and hardship. Um, Recognize that whatever values and morals your parents laid out for you, uh, you should hold fast to your personal morals, and not um, don't don't go with the visual, right? Don't choose your friends based on the external. Choose your friends based on your morals. um, does does this new girlfriend, this new boyfriend, do they match my morals, as opposed to do they match my preference? Because
Yes.
that's where you end up making these bad decisions, and you end up being part of um, you
There's
know
a comment
some
here
narcissist.
from Sammy Sam saying
Mm,
once a narcissist mask falls off, it never goes back on and they never change. And that is true. But I will say that master manipulator, and we're about to go into, you know, why is no contact so important?
mhm,
Because,
mhm.
and he's also saying the narcissistic cycle never stops. You know, it's like a dog chasing its tail,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
it's like when you finally, whether the narcissist discarded you or you finally had the courage to walk away, I would tell anyone your best bet is to go no contact. I
Yeah.
don't care how lonely you're feeling. You may get that text in the middle of the night. I
Mhm.
miss you.
I miss you. Yeah.
You know what? Because they want to lure you back in.
Right.
So I want you to address why no contact is so important.
Yeah. But it seems so easy, to say
Yes.
no contact, but when you're in that relationship, whether that relationship is with a family member or with your spouse, your supervisor,
Yes.
there is a relationship, and
Yes.
you, the normal person, quote unquote normal person, we all have this desire to, not to please, but to have this amicable relationship. We want to be able to relate to each other on a rational basis. Even if we don't agree, but we still want a certain respect, back and forth, right? And the danger with a narcissist is they are not in the relationship for, I, for giving you, to respecting you on an even playing field. That's not
Yes.
their end game. Their end game is simply valid self validation and power. That is it. Not to be kind. That is not.
That
So
is true.
you, can't, you're trying to argue with them, or you're trying to put out your argument, in a logical way, and you're hoping that if I explain myself one more time,
You're setting
right,
yourself up.
everything is going to be okay. No, that doesn't matter. If I yell, if I shout, if I ignore them, um, that doesn't matter, because what they're going to do is move to being a victim now and blame you for their feelings, and they know you feel sorry, and they know they got you back, right? so so
Yes.
so they're constantly, manipulating the circumstance to elicit some type of reaction from you, whether good or bad. It doesn't matter to
It
them,
doesn't matter
right?
to them,
It doesn't
just
matter,
as
no.
because it's like you're feeding them. You
Exactly.
know, that's
So
why I listen. I will tell anyone you can forgive, but I think it's better to move on with your life.
right.
I think it is better to just accept I can't have any dealings with this individual anymore, because if you do, you're setting yourself up. If
You're
you are the
setting up
one
yourself
that
for failure. Yeah,
right,
you
because
have
listen,
to.
if you dumped them, hey, then you've hurt their pride. And it's like, you know what? I've got to lure this person back in because I want to do the dumping the next time around. I want to, who do you think you are dumping me? There's Tamia Moore, a mother and her family members should never keep murdering family members with witchcraft and black magic death spells from their rest in peace screen Game Over. I don't know who that is.
What is that?
I have no idea, but
Wow.
whatever. Okay.
Whatever.
Sammy
Yeah.
Sam says they play the victim and falsely accuse you. And that is
Exactly.
the truth. They
Yeah.
the thing is they're so good at playing of that
Right.
guilt trip, putting that guilt
Yeah.
trip on you.
Yeah.
And
So.
you have to make sure that
Mhm.
you can walk away and just decide, because this is the thing. Sometimes people think that, you know what, I have to say this. I have to get this off my chest.
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
to get this apology.
Mhm.
But sometimes you
Mhm.
just simply have to
Right.
accept
Yeah.
that I'll never get that apology.
Right.
I'll never get that acceptance. I tell you where it can be hard on people, where you could have been with this person for a very long time. They
Mhm.
break up with you. You could have been together for 10 years. They
Right.
meet someone else and they marry them in what, a matter of months. And
Mhm.
you're thinking, what did this other person have that I didn't have?
Right.
And you
Right.
see
Your
yourself
risk
as
and
the
everything. Yeah. Yeah.
right. and you
Yeah.
see yourself as the loser in that
Right.
situation. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you're a winner. You
Yeah.
have
You're right.
to
Yeah.
understand and see that.
Yeah.
The
So yeah.
narcissist is a very tricky individual. And I'm
Right.
telling you,
Mhm.
when that relationship is over, just cut all ties, don't
Yeah.
look back,
Yeah.
just walk away, save
Yeah.
yourself. That's the
Yeah.
best
Even
thing
if
I
yeah.
can say.
Yeah. Even if you chances are you're going to walk away unfulfilled because you're not going to get the apology that your soul needs. But guess what? You can have healing without that apology, right?
Yes, you
And it
can.
just means that you're going to have to do the hard work and do it by yourself. But guess what? At the end of the day, you are going to be a better person for it. And
Yes,
and you can look back at that as a life lesson, right? And say,
yes,
okay, now I know what that is. Let me look to what God has for me, and let me move forward with that. But but there's just no other way to escape that type of situation. I mean, unfortunately, Bree.
Hold on a second, Andrew.
Yeah.
Tamla Moore, I don't know who you are, but I would like to ask you to please stop putting your sick comments on my podcast. Okay,
Right.
enough is enough, please.
Yeah.
Sammy Sam is saying it's hard when you've got a child. And I agree with you,
Yeah.
it's hard, but I would
Yes.
like to say this. You have to think about the child's future because a
Right.
child that grows up around a narcissistic parent,
It's going
I'm
to learn.
telling you that it's going to be a difficult journey for that child. And I think that
Yeah.
the older they get and they're seeing this poor treatment, and they're on
Yeah.
the receiving end also of this
Right.
narcissistic treatment,
Right.
so I think you really have to give it a
Yeah.
lot of thought and a lot of
It's an
prayer. But
individual thing. You know that person, that wife, that husband. I mean, we can't sit here and make a decision for them, but
no,
they will
listen,
have to evaluate it for
that's not what
themselves.
I'm saying. What I'm
Yeah.
saying
Oh,
is
no.
when you're in
Exactly.
the situation
Yeah.
for kids, I'm telling you,
Right.
Andrew,
Yeah.
it
Right.
does a
That's
lot
what
of
I'm saying.
damage.
Yeah, I know. I
Oh,
am.
hold on one second. Let
I'm
me read
agreeing
this
with you.
comment, Andrew. I just want to read this comment. No, and this is not like,
Yeah.
I'm not like,
Yeah.
chastising you. So she
No.
said she's keeping my daughter away, Bree. This is what I'd like to say to you, Sammy. Put it in prayer to God. Put it in
Right.
prayer, but also don't allow that to make you a reactive parent. you know
Mhm.
choose to take the high ground,
Right.
because it's so easy for kids to get torn in the middle. You mentioned
Right.
earlier, Andrew, when we were talking about the relationship with God and being grounded.
Right.
I think that relationship with God is a game changer,
Yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
when you
Oh
understand that you are loved,
yeah.
you are
Right.
validated, and
Right.
that you don't have to jump through hoops, you don't have to, you
Right.
know, give your dignity away.
Exactly.
It's a game changer. It's a
Really,
game changer.
like I said, God, God gave us the 10 Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, and of course,
Yes.
you know. But when you're with this narcissist, you're like, wait, God only gave me 10. Why do you have 500? You have a rule for everything. Something is wrong.
Yes.
When your spouse is criticizing how you speak, how you look, your hair, your makeup, how um, how you eat, how you chew, how you just everything. Um, you have to stop. You really have to stop and ask yourself, is this a healthy relationship? Because that is not what a healthy relationship looks like. I mean, no,
Definitely
I mean
not.
nobody's perfect, but if someone is constantly criticizing everything that you do, and they have a rule for everything, that person is controlling your life. Okay, and that is not healthy. That's not a good place to be in, because what's that telling you is you're there to satisfy their needs. They're not there to
Yes.
satisfy your needs. So,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. So it says here, oh, Sammy saying, can I block this individual? I can't do it from here, but once the podcast is over, I'll
Yeah,
definitely see what I can do.
yeah.
Um, so, you mentioned something in earlier, Andrew, about in the beginning of a relationship, like
Hmm,
being
hmm,
very careful in the beginning. I
hmm.
think that sometimes we get so caught up in the love bombing stage,
Right,
right? That when
right.
the reality, when the mask comes off, we've been
Hmm,
so wrapped up and intoxicated by the love bombing. It's like, you know what?
hmm,
I don't want to let go of this feeling. The red
hmm.
flags are there. It's obvious this person is not sincere,
Right,
but it's like you're chasing that feeling, which leads
right,
to what is breadcrumbing.
right.
Let's talk about breadcrumbing.
So so, I chuckled when I saw that, breadcrumbs, So it's a old phenomena, but it's a new thing in the sense that with with social media and with the younger generation, however, everybody just communicates. You could be sitting beside a person and they're not speaking to each other. They're on their smartphones communicating that way. So what breadcrumbs is you meet this person, and what they're doing is again engaging you um, in a very manipulative way. So they may speak to you today, and then they sort of go ghost you for a couple of
That
days or
ghosted,
whatever.
I was about to mention that
Right,
ghosted term. Like Sammy is saying, they give you a little bit to
a
string you
little
along.
bit
It's like,
string you
here,
along.
take a few
Exactly.
crumbs, take a few
So
crumbs,
so
right?
you're
That'll
now
keep you going
confused.
for a few days.
Right. So you're confused because, as to, do we really have a connection? Because I thought we had a connection, but she's not answering me. I texted her, and 4 hours passed. I don't hear anything. Like, I thought we had a connection. And then, later on tonight, she may send me something, and then I'm like, oh, okay, 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 okay. She's
Just
into me now.
enough to keep you interested, right? It's like
Right,
you go from receiving 10 phone calls a day to a
right,
text every now and then, right? And
exactly.
in that desperation, it's like you're trying to get back to that point where you felt important, you were getting the phone
You,
calls. And
ah,
it's like at the
exactly.
end of the day, let me ask you this, Andrew. If you in your heart know that you are receiving breadcrumbs,
Mm-hmm,
right? I think, and it's hard, it's easier said than done. And
mm-hmm.
Sammy's saying it's all one sick game. Yes, it is. But I
Yeah,
think that's where our relationship with God has to kick in and
right,
realize, you know what? I don't need your breadcrumbs.
right.
Thanks, but no thanks.
But no time.
You
Yeah,
have to get to that point, but it's
right,
very hard for that person that's entangled in the
right,
web of a narcissist. That's
right.
the best way that I can say it. I want
Yeah,
to move on to flying monkeys.
the flying
Who is
monkeys.
a flying monkey in a narcissistic relationship?
Right, the crew. It's the
Yes.
crew. It's the crew. The people that they have hanging around them, that 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 sets the stage. They go and he may say, what, I want to talk to that girl, and he has his friends go and they check you out, and then they engage you, and he gets all the info on you, and then he puts the game in motion, right? uh, and he starts to engage you, and he promises you stuff, to go out, what you like. He may buy you stuff, and then once he has then the game starts. It becomes this game to sort of have you at his beck and call. um,
Yes.
and only when he wants it, right? So it's not about meeting your needs; it's about meeting his needs at this point. And
Yes.
and when you question something, then those flying monkeys come in, and then you may say, "Oh, but a friend said that they saw you with this other person," and then the friend groups don't come in and they validate and they say, "No, he was with me all day. We were X, Y, and Z, and it must be somebody else," or so they're the supportive
They do
staff.
the
They do
dirty
and they
work
do
for the
all the
narcissist,
dirty work.
right? They
Yeah,
usually do the dirty work. The
yeah,
narcissist may be on a phone call. Hey, you know what? Because I'm the good guy, and look at what she's doing. She
right,
did this and she did that, and blah
right,
blah 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 blah. And
right,
then next thing you know, these people are giving you all this hate.
right.
You're on the receiving end of things that
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
simply do not understand. I want to
yeah.
say this to you, Andrew. There are so many friendships that have broken up. There are so many relationships that have
Hmm.
broken up, and people don't realize there was a narcissist in the background pulling
Hmm.
the puppet strings,
Right,
right?
right,
And
right.
telling the flying monkeys all these different things. And it's
Hmm.
back and forth. But it's like when that they call it narcissistic rage, when that
Right, right.
narcissist turns on you
Turns on you,
and they
and they
decide,
turn
you know
all their
what?
enemies on
Yeah,
you, all their friends on you.
yeah,
Right.
that
Yeah.
wrath is coming your way. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
definitely have to be careful. And yes, Sammy, I saw your and I will make sure I post it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
now let's talk about narcissistic supply. Look, I want people to be aware of what is going on. A
Hmm.
narcissist, especially when they are ready to discard you. I mean, read about narcissism, you will see all of these terms. Or they have a sense that eventually you will pull away. They
Hmm.
already have their new supply in the background. The
Right.
right because a narcissist can't be on their own. They
Right.
always need that
Hmm.
person to it's basically to me, I feel like
To
they want
feed
to
them,
be worshiped, right?
to worship
Feed
them.
that ego, to
Yeah.
feed
Yeah.
that ego. So
Yeah.
sometimes you may notice, hey, I went through a divorce today.
Hmm.
Hey, that spouse, he's married already. Well,
Right.
that
Yeah.
person was already in the background. A
Right. Yeah.
narcissist,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
believe in keeping that supply. I'd like you to address that,
Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah. 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 That is because it's like I say, they're never invested in the relationship.
Yes.
So yes, you may feel like you are number one, but you're number one of 10.
Yes.
So they have two, three, four, five, six going on these other relationship, and as
Yes.
soon as they get tired of you or you get wise to their game and now emotionally and physically detach yourself from them,
Yes.
they're not coming chasing you. They may send a text late at night at a certain time because they know when you are a bit vulnerable. So, and that's just for what we would call back in the days a
The
booty
booty
call.
call.
You know,
Yes.
so they're still going to try, but they're going to move number two up to number one, while
Yes.
they have you out there, and they're still going to try to engage you every now and then to
Yes.
see if you will fall for the
Yes. It's a
trick.
power trip, right?
Right, but at no point are they sitting down, uh, eating a bucket of ice cream and crying, "Oh, I miss
No.
you," and
And
no,
that's the thing I want people to
yeah,
understand. That
yeah.
narcissist
There's no
couldn't care
feelings
less.
involved.
They have moved on. They have no
Yeah,
empathy. So,
none.
when people get so caught up and they go and they kill themselves or they're
Hmm.
hurting themselves,
Hmm.
they are doing things because they just can't forgive themselves because they lost
Hmm.
this individual. I
Right.
promise you that
Yeah.
person is not thinking about you
They're
at night
not.
when they
No,
go to sleep.
they've
You
moved on.
know,
Yeah,
right? So I'm glad that you brought that up, Andrew.
yeah,
So now
yeah.
let's talk about overcoming narcissistic abuse because it can be done. So let's address that.
Well, again, I mean, um, if you're in that position, um, and especially if the person left you, you know, that's when that abuse becomes so much more damaging, um, because now you're now left confused, totally confused, because
Yes.
you thought you were doing the right things, and
Yes.
this person has now left you. And of course, they're going to say something real hurtful that's going to hit you at your core.
Yes.
Um, I think, you know, you need a good support system,
Yes.
whether that starts out with your small, group of girls, or your friends, your guys, whatever that you can talk to, and then that has to just sort of escalate to to whether members and leadership, from if you go to church, or you have to get professional medical psychotherapy, consultations, etc. But because it's really going to leave you um, really confused,
It
second
does.
guessing
I
everything, and
promise
even
you.
second guessing relationships that you're
Yes.
going to have in the future. Because if
Yes.
if that is not resolved, you're going to take that baggage into future
Yes,
relationships,
Andrew,
and
you're
then
so
that
right.
person is not going to become a victim of 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 your pain, and they're unaware of it. So you have to address what has happened to you before you can move on. So
And I'm so glad you said that, because after my last narcissistic experience,
mhm,
I remember, like, I was very confused, I was very hurt, but
mhm,
it was like, you know what? I felt like God was saying to me, "Have you learned your lesson yet?" You know? And I had to honestly do some serious
yeah,
work,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
had to ask myself, why am I always in this
mhm,
situation? I don't care what
mhm,
the nationality is, if
right,
they're ugly, if they're good looking, if they're
mhm,
rich or poor. It's like
mhm,
I have always been with the same individual. I had
mhm,
to do
mhm,
some soul searching. I had to
right,
admit to myself there was some desperation on my part, because
right,
I simply didn't feel good enough.
right,
I
right,
simply wanted
yeah,
to be loved, and I
yeah,
didn't understand at the time. And that's where I
mhm,
feel that God really pulled
mhm,
me into this relationship with Him, where I really got to understand the
yeah,
love of God. And as you
exactly,
said
exactly,
earlier, there's no one else on earth that can
mhm,
fill that but God. I think once you get
right,
to that point and you're more grounded, then
mhm,
you will know when it's time for another relationship. I'd like us to
right,
address following your gut instincts, because that red flag
right.
is always there. And sometimes we feel, you know what, this is
It's
my
there.
last chance.
You ignore it.
I'm this age, so
Yeah,
I'll never meet
yeah,
anyone, or
right,
I'll never meet anyone else like that.
right.
So I'd like you to talk about that. When we know in our heart, this person doesn't give a damn about me. Come on, let's get real, Andrew. I want you to address that.
Yeah, I know. We know, we know, but our flesh um, is just overpowering our greater sense. They
Yes,
need they they need to be loved, to be wanted.
yes,
It's so powerful, and you're not the sweetest thing on God's
yes,
green earth, and that's okay too. But this person has made you feel that way, right? And
yes,
why is it that you can't say, no, something is wrong here? Nope,
yes,
nope, something, but nope, you fall for it, because that's what you always wanted. You always wanted to hear those words.
yes,
You have heard of these feelings from your friends, and now someone is making you feel this way. You're not giving this up,
right.
even even if the lights are flashing, the bells are, everything. You're like, nope, not letting it go. I always wanted it. You're going for the ride. And this is what happens. You know, you, I know we can sit here and say this, Bree, but
Easier said than done,
easier
right?
said,
Right?
easier said than done.
Because some people are convinced if I just love him enough, or
Yeah,
some people think, hey, I can blow his mind with sex.
right.
They think if
Yeah,
I do this and if I do that, if I spin on
yeah,
top of my head,
right.
listen, at the end of the day,
I know. Yeah,
it's
but
not,
but
it is
but but
not going to make a
yeah,
difference.
but to the narcissist, it's not about that.
It's not.
It's not
It's
about that.
definitely not
Yeah.
about that.
Yes, they want those sexual pleasures, but but they are the ones that's in control of it. So
Yes.
yes, they want you to do certain acts. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to then manipulate it and make you do it when they want it done, and even when they want it, they may and they recognize that you want to participate.
Yes.
They may withdraw because they want to get you off centered.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's all about keeping you off centered, keeping you guessing. They don't want you to fall in a rhythm. They don't want to be predictable, right?
Yes.
They want you constantly guessing as to what is next, because
Right.
that's where they get their power from, you know. They I would tell any person, um, don't be desperate, and if it looks too good,
To be
chances
true.
are
And and and
it's too
and,
good.
and that's the truth. So now let's talk about patience.
Yeah.
Because I think too often we're jumping from relationship to
Mhm.
relationship to relationship. I
Right.
remember you sharing, like, hey, you made up your mind that you would wait until
Mhm.
that right person would come along.
Right.
You had
Yeah.
opportunities, but
Yeah.
you didn't
Yeah.
take advantage of it because
Right.
your mindset was different. You were walking
Right.
with God and you wanted that to reflect in your
Right.
in how you did things in that way. So
Exactly.
let's talk
Yeah.
about patience because listen, I remember when I went through my divorce,
Hmm.
and I've been divorced for almost 10 years.
Hmm.
You couldn't have convinced me that I wouldn't have been remarried by now. I wouldn't have found a
Right.
nice person in my
Yeah.
life by now.
Right.
And
Right.
what I've had to learn is that I believe there were lessons that God wanted me to learn. There were
Amen. Yeah.
behaviors that I believe I had to change. I had
Right.
to learn to see myself in a totally different way.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I had to understand that
Hmm.
there was value to who I am. And
Right.
before we came on, I looked up the scripture because that's what came to mind.
Hmm.
Psalm 139:14. I praise
Hmm.
you because I am fearfully and
I wonder for
wonderfully
it.
made. Your works
Yes.
are
Yeah.
wonderful. I know that
Yeah.
full well. We have to
Right.
learn to see
Yeah.
ourselves the way that God sees us. Am
Exactly.
I right?
Exactly.
We have to
Right.
learn to
Yeah.
see the beauty in ourselves. I
Hmm.
turned 62 recently, and I
Hmm.
tell
Hmm.
you, I remember on my 62nd birthday, I felt depressed. I'm
Hmm.
looking in the
Hmm.
mirror like, oh my gosh, I can see the age,
Right.
oh my gosh, look at all the fine lines. And,
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
like, you
Yeah.
need to stop doing that. You
Right.
have to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
yourself the way that God sees you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
learn to be patient. Because
Yeah.
I believe that if God has someone for you, who is going to
Mhm.
stop it? It's going
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
happen. We have
It's
to
going to happen.
learn to
Yeah.
trust God. So, Andrew,
Yeah.
I'd like you to give your closing thoughts, and then I have something I would like to say. Or if you'd like me to say what I have to say first, and then you give your closing thoughts, that's fine. It's up to you.
I'll speak and leave you after
Okay,
that.
no problem.
So if you find yourself in this type of chaos that we are describing, right? Um, the the best way to communicate your emotions, your feelings, to safeguard your peace. You can't engage this type of person with logic and long explanations, because they're only going to use bits and pieces of what you said and weaponize it and turn it against you. And now you end up talking about these other things as opposed to the point that you're trying to make, because all they're trying to do is to create more chaos and to frustrate you. So at the end of the day, um, you you have to start working on yourself, getting some
Yes.
self-respect. um, you have to keep your conversations and your word um, very limited when you're speaking to these type of individuals. It's
Yes.
a yes. It's, and again, at the core of that person is their reputation. Yes, they want to be in power, but how they perceive themselves and how they think people perceive them is priority to them. So, so the best way of communicating with someone like that is to, when they say something to you, um, you just want to keep your tone very flat, even keel. You don't want to be combative, because then you're getting back into what they want. But you want to say something like, is is that how you want to be viewed? So they know they'll stop, and they'll, because it's all about how they think
Yes.
they're perceived, right? So you want to keep your word and your language very short, very limited, very concise. And at the end of the day, you have to slowly detach yourself from that person emotionally, um, and physically if possible, right? So your peace is, you have to recognize that your peace cannot be in their hand. They will never provide that for you. You have to control that for yourself and make sure you start um, having a relationship, or renewing your relationship with God.
Sammy Sam says here the main thing is understanding and recognizing behavior that isn't good and
Right.
learning how about detachment. And I totally
Detachment.
agree with that.
Exactly.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Andrew, we've talked about that relationship with God, but I'd
Mhm.
also like to address the relationship that we have with ourselves.
Yeah.
What I would like to say to that man or to that woman who has
Mhm.
experienced
Mhm.
narcissistic abuse is learn to love yourself. You know,
Mhm.
learn to
Mhm.
see yourself the way that God sees you. Do
Right.
not give up on yourself. I've seen women who, and I'm sure it happens to men too, but
Mhm.
because that individual didn't want them, they gave up on themselves. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
they stopped doing the things they used to do,
Mhm.
doing their hair or taking care of themselves.
Right.
Years ago, I remember watching a reality show, and I can't remember what it was about,
Mhm.
but I remember the lady, the host of the show, saying to the woman, "I'd like to see your underwear drawer." And the woman was upset and she was offended, and she did
Mhm.
not want the woman to see her underwear drawer. But the
Mhm.
reason why she didn't was because her
Mhm.
underwear was old, it was tattered, they were tattered and torn.
Mhm.
That's the best way to put it, right?
Okay. Okay.
Now, some people may think that's a minute thing, but let me put
Mhm.
it like this. When
Mhm.
you care about yourself, it's the
Mhm.
little things that you will do to show
Mhm.
yourself some love.
Right. Right.
It's like, don't think, okay, when you were with this narcissist, you were
Mhm.
probably going all out to take care of yourself. You
Mhm.
can still
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
were wearing perfume before, wear your
Mhm.
perfume. You
Right.
know,
Right.
do your nice lotions, do your moisturizers. If
Mhm.
you're a guy, continue with your haircuts or whatever it is you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show yourself some love. Don't go around looking like a bum because
Right.
you feel like who's looking at me? You're looking at yourself.
And the thing, part of that, what you're describing is that victim is doing that self-hurt
Yes.
to sort of see if they could punish that person, the narcissist,
Yes.
to sort of see if that narcissist would be sympathetic. But
Narcissist
but
has moved
but
on.
but the problem is that that
Yes.
person is a narcissist, and part of the
Yes.
definition is that they have no empathy.
None.
So you um, threatening suicide, they would probably tell you to go and kill yourself because
You saw the
you're
video
no
that I
good.
sent to you. Did you watch the video I sent to you today?
Yes, yeah,
And you heard what that young man said. The
yeah,
woman was telling him,
yeah.
go ahead and kill
Go ahead.
yourself. Come on.
Exactly. Right. So these things happen. They will tell you this, and um, because you feel so worthless, you know, you you see, you know what, I have nothing to live for, and you end up killing yourself, thinking that this is going to hurt that person,
That person
but
doesn't care.
they're going to move on.
They're going
You
to move
know,
on with their lives. So at the
yeah,
end of the day, I
you know,
truly believe, Andrew,
yeah,
and I'm sure you will agree, we have to stay grounded in the word
yeah,
of God. We have to work on that personal relationship. I can't
mm,
stress that enough. That is the game
yeah,
changer. That hole
yeah.
in the soul that you so desperately needed to be filled by the narcissist, that
Yeah.
can only be filled by God.
A Bible verse just came to my mind.
Go ahead.
So I'm trying to remember where, if it's in Romans, but but part of God's antidote to narcissism is that He tells us to rejoice when others are rejoicing, and to
Yes.
mourn when those are mourning, right? And the problem with that is that requires us to see people, to see them, to empathize with them. The problem is that the narcissist um, is going to rejoice not when you're rejoiced, but they're going to rejoice when you're mourning.
Yes.
They're going to mourn when you're rejoicing because they don't want to see you.
Excellent point.
It is so crazy how,
It's sick.
yeah. So
It's remember
yeah,
there was a quote by Maya Angelou when she said, what did she say? Like, when someone shows you who they are the first time,
right, right,
believe them, right? And
yeah,
that other saying where, like, when someone hurts you the first time, shame on them. When they
mm,
do it again, shame on you. We
right,
have to have love for ourselves.
yeah,
We have to learn to be able to walk away from situations. Don't be held into a situation by
mhm,
desperation.
right,
You
right,
don't want a one-sided love relationship.
right,
You
right.
know, you want to know that person is showing you love in return.
Right.
Andrew, I am so thankful for you for doing this topic with me.
Yeah,
I sprang this on you at the last minute and you so
it's okay.
graciously accepted, and I appreciate that. Next week, we'll be talking about parenting adult children.
Right, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's next week. I'm
Next week.
definitely looking forward to that. Now, do you
Okay.
know who Sammy Sam is?
No.
No, okay, because I wanted to tell you that you could pass on. So I'll put it in your chat so he can see my so he can join my Facebook.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. So yeah, Andrew, like I said, once
Yeah,
again, thank you. I appreciate
yeah,
how much you've helped me with this podcast. It's been
yeah.
going on almost three
It's a
years,
pleasure.
and I definitely appreciate it. Isn't that crazy? Yeah,
Yeah,
almost 3 years. So
yeah,
I'd like to encourage the viewers, focus on that relationship, that one-on-one relationship with the Lord.
Right.
continue to read the word for yourself and be
Right.
prayerful. And
Be
for
prayerful.
those who have been on the receiving end of narcissistic abuse, instead of chasing the love of someone that does not love you, allow God to love you. That's what I would like to end with tonight.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone. I'm wishing you all a blessed week. Angie, do you have any words that
No,
you'd like to say?
we're good. We're good.
Thank you.
Just,
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them or to reach out to us. And Sammy said, appreciate all that you do, guys. Thank you very much. And we appreciate you. And thank you for your comments. We always enjoy the comments. Thank you
amen.
so much. Take care. Good
Amen.
night.
Amen. Good night. Yes.